Welcome to Baseball Biz. I'm Mark Carpenter, your host, and with me today, of course, is Mr. Brandon No Way. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good this week, Mark. How about you?
Greetings and felicitations, man. I'm happy hanging the holly, putting up the Christmas wreath, all of that good, the nativity scene, getting everything ready for Christmas.
Yeah, it's exciting time. I mean, I get to bless everybody with my gift wrapping talents, even though many people will say it's ugly, but I see it's an acquired taste, as people say.
Oh, brother, you're going to have to share that with me. That's very, very interesting. You certainly captured my imagination as what that could potentially be. Wow. Well, this is a special RaysUp edition of Baseball Biz, folks. And Brandon and I are going to talk about, the team that we love most, the Rays. Obviously, right now here it's a lockout date. God number, what is it? It's number 14, I believe. Yeah, it's 12/15/2021. So it's probably the 14th day of the lockout. Nothing's happening as far as any kind of hot stove. But there have been some changes, not with the players, but with what's happening with some managers. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to look back to where we were. We had one of the best seasons the Rays have. Actually, I guess we had the best regular season the Rays have ever had.
Yeah, it was. And by far, I believe by far it was their best regular season win-wise. Percentage-wise, I believe it was worse than last year's, but win-wise, it was the best season. And there was a lot of hope going into the postseason, and unfortunately they didn't reach those expectations, but there's a bright future for some of the guys that they have.
I think so as well. And we'll talk about some of those, and we'll talk about some awards the teams have won. We'll talk about some of the future players. We're going to let's see what else we got on here on the day. Oh, we'll look at some X-rays, what happened there, some comments from some of our favorite managers and coaches, and, of course, we'll talk about season's greetings and the season of giving. But first, before we get started, I'd like to take a listen to, Brandon, of some of the words from Kevin Cash at the conclusion of our last game.
These guys should be very proud. I know I am of what was accomplished. You're allowed to be proud and also disappointed at the same time. Coming into spring training, there's no denying this team had high aspirations. Eric and his staff did a tremendous job of building or adding to the core that was here and replacing pieces that have really helped us. But I can't look at this team as a disappointment. That I would say that's unfair.
Wow. It was a sad day when that happened, but the thing was, we did have a great season with the Tampa Bay Rays in 2021. We'd love to see it go further. The Boston Red Sox kind of denied us that. And Nate Eovaldi, an alumni of the Rays, he was a key part of that. We'll talk about him in a little bit too. And that's a little bit what happened. But the Rays have been recognized, man. You hear about all these awards. And the award you really want is that World Series trophy. That didn't happen this year. Yeah, Brandon. I mean, look at that. We got the Baseball America Award coming out and saying, this is the organization of the year. The Rays have been named the 2021 organization of the year by Baseball America. And I think that's pretty outstanding. It says a lot about the team, says a lot about the front office and the management as well. But a lot of that, it does begin in that front office. When you think of the Rays organization, not just what's happening on the field at the Trop, but everything it takes to get there. You got to have a good farm system for some of that. That's for sure.
Yeah, like you were saying, it takes a good farm system, and they stock up on that farm system every year because every time they trade guys, they get prospects back. That's the Rays way, sort of.
Yeah, it is. I mean, some people criticize that. They say, oh, my gosh, what are you all doing? And I got to tell you, you and I have had this conversation before. When Longoria was let go years ago, I was like, oh, my gosh, what are you doing? This guy should be a legend and a legacy with the team forever. Baseball was changing. I didn't like it. When Willy Adames was traded, I didn't like it. But you realize the Rays, they have such a great amount of talent that they're bringing up. Now, some good trades, too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we had a great trade with the Pirates getting Tyler Glass now and Austin Meadows. the Rays have nurtured an internal system to bring up some great talent. Who do we got? We brought up Vidal Brujan. I think we sent him back down, but we'll probably bring him back up. Taylor Walls, there's another one. And let's see who else we have here. Oh, by the way, before I say another thing, there's one thing that really gets my gut. And I don't think the Rays are appreciated enough, okay? I think this award is great, but it's been begrudging, I think, of a lot of the national commentators when they talk about the Rays. And it's either this or it's that. It's like, oh, how bad fan attendance is. And then they say Tampa Rays. And I say, no, they're not in Tampa. Say Tampa Bay, say St. Pete Rays. Okay, I'm going on a diatribe here. Bring me back in, Brandon.
Come on, Mark. It's my job to yell at people, not yours.
But one of the things that really get me is well, give me a couple of years first.
Well, I mean, the thing you said, they say that the team plays in Tampa when, honestly, they don't even play close to Tampa. And just like the lack of knowledge they have about the area and the team, it really takes away credibility from them and stuff like that, like calling a guy Zanino when, I mean, you just look at his name, you can sound it out. It's Zanino.
Thank you very much.
Things like that. How people say that they don't care about the team, yet they're consistently the highest ranked television event. So something's not adding up there.
Yeah. So folks, we get a little perturbed with national commentators. And one thing that keeps me crazy is the guy that we had is the number one prospect for 2 years in a war, for 2 years in a row, and then he's up there for Rookie of the Year award, and they still can't say the man's name. It's Franco, not Franco, Franco. Write it down, FRAHN-CO, if you want to try to do some kind of pronunciation on it. Franco. Okay, enough of me.
To be fair, we couldn't pronounce his name at all at first, but we learned, and I think we're getting the hang of it. And Thank God some of these guys don't do hockey coverage, because if they can't pronounce Franco, how are they going to pronounce some of those names? Could you imagine them trying to say Andre Vasilevsky?
Ooh, no. That would be a challenge for a lot of folks. That's great. I err here a lot too, so I make my mistakes on that. But
we poke fun at our mistakes.
Yeah, and there's been plenty of them. So continue to call me out. Oh. So let's see. So Franco. And Franco's a name that has really been getting bandied about, just before the doors closed from the lockout. Some action went on with him. What was that all about?
Yeah, well, he came up and this was his, first year up in the majors. He only played 70 games, but he had 7 homers, 39 RBIs, hit .288 with a .81 OPS, so a really good OPS as well. He finished 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting. And people were like, well, this is just the start of something new because he's just going to take off from here. And evidently the Rays believed in that because he signed an 11-year, $182 million deal just about maybe a month ago at this point. It was a little before Thanksgiving. And that's an annual average of $16.5 million. That's also a club option in 2033.
Egads, man. I mean, that's insane. When you think of who the Rays way is, I don't think of an 11-year contract. I mean, that to me, that's stunning.
I have 2 trains of thoughts on this one. And it might be a bit controversial because I'm the only person that seems to think the one side. But from the Rays deal, I think it's a smart move. I mean, you lock up a guy who can be from what some people are saying, a generational talent, a perennial all-star for the next 11 years. And relatively cheaply as well, because looking at all the other contracts out there, because you got guys like Lindor, he's making $341 over 10 years, Tatis $340 over 14, and Corey Seager $325 over 10. So can be a really good bargain for the Rays long term. And Franco, because he gets paid early in his career, he hadn't even played a full year.
Yeah, he is. Like I said, he's definitely getting paid early on. And I was a little concerned. I thought, was that the best deal to make from the perspective of Franco? if you've got a contract for 10 years in Major League Baseball, if you're injured, you get paid for those years, unless there's something rather unique about the contract. That young man is guaranteed for the next 11 years to have a nice little piece of pie coming.
Here's where my thought, and you might agree with me a little bit. To my knowledge, there is no opt-out for him in this deal. I only saw a club option. But I think that this is a short-term gain at a long-term loss. Because looking at what these deals are doing, imagine what they're going to be in like 5 years from now, the way teams are shelling out money. Because look how much has changed just the past 5 years. And I'm wondering, even though I don't blame him for taking the money, that's life-changing money. I'm wondering if it would have been better for him to say, you know what, I appreciate the offer, but I'm going to bet on myself and get an even bigger payday here in another few years. Now, I don't blame him for taking the money at all. I'll just say that. But I'm wondering if, maybe he shortchanged himself and long-term it wasn't the greatest of deals for him.
We'll see. I mean, at 11 years, that's quite a while, but the man's 21, so that means he'd be 32. He could still be very young in some sense of the game. I mean, well, pitchers you see go longer, but then also you look at DHs like Nelson Cruz, who's still out there, I think 40 or thereabouts. So Rocco could still have, a good career once he hits 32.
Yeah, he could, and there's no telling what he could do. I mean, we looked at projections this morning where over the next 10 years, his worst year could be a 280 average season. And if that's your worst year over 10 years, that's pretty good. But also, who knows? Because, 70 games isn't really a large sample size. 39 RBIs over a full season, that's about 70 or 80. So a little bit left to be desired there. But 70 games, I don't think you can really judge either way what he's going to fully be. But I think the future is bright for him.
I do too. I think he probably made the right call. And it's certainly better contract than I negotiated last year. So
me too.
I'm very, very happy with it, man. So exciting times. But looking again, saying a little deeper on the Rays, what's else going on? There is an institution, as far as I'm looking at him, who's left the team. And it's not Joey Wendle I'm talking about, but we'll talk about him in a little bit. I'm talking about Ozzie Timmons. That man who is basically the podium you expect to see at first base when our men are up to bat. He is a mainstay. He has a smile. He has an attitude. He has an energy and a spirit that he brings to every game. There he is with the Rays. What I love about this guy is how much the fans love him, Brandon. I mean, you see him out there. They're holding up signage to him, and I think they even had a birthday cake out there for him a while back.
I believe they did.
He's got his own fan base. I think tickets cost more in that part of the stadium just so they can be around Ozzie. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be sad. The man's done so much, Brandon. I mean, you think about him. I mean, it's interesting because he started out with the Rays, and I'm trying to think where he was initially. Well, first off, let's look at Ozzie as far as a Tampa guy. Now, not only has he been a Tampa Bay Ray coach, he's also been he went to University of Tampa. Tino Martinez went there as well. He's a local guy, again, looking at Ozzie from even in high school. He graduated from Brandon High School out there in Brandon. But his whole career, I guess early on, you look professionally, he was selected by the Cubs back in 91 in the 5th round of the MLB draft. He's played in the Japanese league. He's played in the Venezuelan league. He's just been amazing. But when he came into coaching, he started out with the Durham Bulls, starting there as a hitting coach. See, he didn't become our first base coach in Tampa Bay until 2018. He feels more like a fixture that's been there longer than that for me.
Yeah, I thought he was here almost since the beginning of Cash, in a way.
Cash come over. Is it 2016 or thereabouts?
I believe it was 15. His first season.
Right, it was right, because I couldn't remember exactly when Madden left. I think, yeah. So, but the thing of it is, he has been a great coach for so long. And now he has an opportunity to do something else. He's going to go ahead and be the hitting coach for the Milwaukee Brewers. I want to play a little bit from a recent interview with Ozzie about the Brewers.
No, he's a kid that works his butt off constantly, and he started slowly with us in Tampa, but now when the Brewers made the trade, something clicked and he took off, like you say, a firecracker. But Willy's one of those kids that he's positive regardless of the success or the pitfalls he might be having at that moment. He comes to the park with plenty of energy. And for me, coming to Milwaukee, it's good to have a familiar face, and it's contagious. So I'm looking forward to getting back to him.
So that's Ozzie talking about Willy Adames and his move with the Brewers, moving up north. So God bless him. He's going to do great. I almost expect to see him to be a manager of a team soon.
Yeah, I could easily see him being a manager somewhere down the road, just the way, because his energy he brings to the dugout, the way his players respond to it, the way just everybody likes him. I think that'd be a good leadership quality that he has, and especially if he turns out to be a good hitting coach, I think that would do wonders. Especially, like I said, the way his leadership abilities with his likability, I think that would do wonders for his managerial candidacy. I had to stutter to say that. It's a tongue twister.
I like it.
Managerial candidacy.
There we are. Okay, man. Well, I have great expectations for him. He'll be sorely missed here. We still, when we look out the field, we can still see Rodney down third and wave to him. Ozzie Timmons is an entity to and of himself and to all the fans who know and love him. So I know that Willy will be glad to see him, and I'll look for great things with whatever he's able to do with the Brewers. So congratulations, Ozzie. We're going to miss you, but enjoy your new gig. You know that Ozzie is not the only Rays coach who's being considered right now. I mean, Ozzie's already picked it up, but if you take a look at the bench coach for the Tampa Bay Rays, you got Matt Quatraro. We're going to see what's happening with him, because right now he's been talking with the Padres, right? No. He's been talking with the A's. Bob Melvin, who was the coach for the A's, has moved on to the Padres, and the A's are looking for somebody new.
Yeah, and it's not just the A's. I've also seen the Mets. His name has been thrown around as a finalist or at least a candidate for their managerial job as well. And looking at the A's candidates, it's weird seeing some of these guys, because I remember watching them play, like Mark Kotze and Will Venable. I remember watching these guys play as a kid, and now here they are. They can be managers.
Yeah. It is interesting when you think about it. 3 of those guys too are currently with the A's as coaches. One thing I noticed too is of the 3 that are not coaches, including Matt, that we're looking at bench coaches. I think maybe that's another step. Maybe Ozzie will wind up taking when he's with the Brewers as a bench coach first, because bench coach is much more integrated into the game every day. Whereas, the first base coach does a lot, maybe with some hitting and some grounding or fielding and that sort of thing with players throughout the week. A bench coach, he's there. He's going through the same kind of decision making with the manager. He's almost like his right hand man, going back and forth. While you'll see Cash talking, of course, with Kyle Snyder and others, you'll also see him with the bench coach. They're going over the information of the day and what they're seeing from the other team, but it's really kind of a stepping stone, I would think, to moving up.
Yeah, to me, I don't really know a whole bunch about, the coaching positions, like what a bench coach does. I think he's just kind of like the right-hand man of the manager. So I think that would give you like a head start to be the manager. Kind of like how in football you have like an assistant head coach. It's sort of like that, as what I imagine.
I think it's a much more quiet position, so you don't really see him so much. And certainly the cameras aren't going to focus necessarily on the bench coach. But we wish Matt well, whether he's with us, the A's, or the Mets. Best wishes, Matt. So I'd like to have him another year, but the man's career, he's growing. Hey, best wishes. Next. Okay. what has been the success of Tampa Bay Rays coaches who've left the team? Has there been interest? Well, obviously there is with Matt, and there was with Ozzie this year. But if you look back a couple of guys recently, we had Rocco Baldelli and we had Charlie Montoyo. Baldelli, man, he was with us, the Rays for about 3 years as kind of a roving minor league instructor. He was helping out with some of the things with baseball operations overall. And he became the first base coach, I think, before Ozzie. And he was named Major League Field Coordinator in November 2017. But Ozzie, but Rocco, he moved on, man. He went on to Minnesota Twins back in 2018. And here's a funny one. I mean, we're talking about us hitting 100 wins. He led them, the Minnesota Twins, in 2019 to 101 wins. Woof. It was interesting, too, to look and see that Rocco, he was named the 2019 American League Manager of the Year. 38 years old. He's the youngest manager to win the award back then, man. So he set himself apart. He certainly achieved a lot.
Yeah, he did. And he had like immediate success coming in there. Like you said, winning 101 games. It's tailed off a little bit recently, but the Twins have also dealt off their biggest players. So it's not entirely his fault. So he's gone through pretty much everything you can in a 4-year span as a manager.
Well, it's amazing to me, too. And I'm looking there and I'm saying, okay, if we're looking at the impact of what the Rays have out there, Rocco is part of it. So in 2019, he won the American League Manager of the Year award. And in 2020, another former Rays coach, he was nominated for the American League Manager of the Year award. And that was Charlie Montoyo. Now, Charlie, unfortunately, was running up against a very impressive Kevin Cash in 2020, and Kevin picked up that nomination. Not only the nomination, he won it, and then Kevin won it again in 2021. Woof! I mean, Kevin, you're impressing the heck out of everybody, and certainly us as fans.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Charlie, he hasn't really gotten the chance to have a full normal season with his roster. I mean, 2019 was his only normal year, and that was when they were first bringing all their guys up there in Toronto. So hopefully this year we can really see him, reach his potential as a manager, because I've been impressed with what he's done so far, because the Blue Jays have been homeless for most of the past year, and to keep them as contenders pretty much the whole time, I think that's really impressive.
Like you're saying, the Toronto Blue Jays, they've had to play in 3 different fields this year. 1, a single A in Dunedin, Florida. 2, then you got I guess it was AAA in Buffalo, New York. And they're still south of the border. I mean, this team is up in Canada. And they finally get up to Rogers Center up in Toronto and finish out the season. That's a lot to ask of a team. We may have to see what that's like soon, too. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to ask of a team. And, Charlie, I got the greatest respect in the world for him. It's a very young team, but he's been working with, and he's got a lot of good talent. However, if I was a Toronto Blue Jays fan, I'd also be saying, daggone, what happened to Robbie Ray and Marcus Semien? So he's got his work still cut out for him.
Yeah, I was really disappointed to see those two leave, because I really thought they were building something up there in Toronto, and I still think they are. I still think they're going to be a really good team. I think it is a little bit of a blow to them losing those two, but I think they can recover from it, and we'll find out here. Hopefully, we'll find out here. There's a season.
Yeah, hopefully we'll find out here. Another reason that Mr. Franco did well, going ahead and getting a contract in place, I guess. We'll see. Oh, let's see. Oh, man, we've been talking, of course, about Ozzie and some of the other managers with the Rays. But if we look at the front office, the Rays way, if you will, other teams are trying to emulate it. They're trying to do more with less. But you got to start with a good farm system. And some of the guys inside the Rays organization, moved out a little while ago. We had Chaim Bloom moved to the Red Sox, and boy, hasn't he done some good work. And then you got Glick, who went to the Astros. And boy, did they do some good work. You can't take credit for everything, but you certainly have to respect the teams and what they've done with those organizations to do as well as they did in the last postseason.
The Rays are like where you go to learn. It's like a university where you go to learn how to run things and do stuff differently. And then they send you out into the world of baseball to live your life.
So are we
That's what it seems like.
So are we like regular minors? Are they what, regular college? And then the Rays, what they're doing is graduate school, and then we send them out. Okay. Okay.
It's like when you get into your degree. That's what it is. Minor leagues, your prereq classes.
Yeah, I wonder how all that's going to continue to cultivate in the Rays way out there. A lot of people are concerned about the amount of money that the teams like the Rays are spending. But if the results are there, it's kind of hard to argue with. I just hope that the owners take those profits and put them into the farms and continue to develop great talent and actually put them into the stadium and things for the fans. So we'll see.
Hopefully they could keep some of that talent too instead of trading them away like they always do.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see.
And talking about trades, we got a classic. And we talked to you and I both. We talked last year. We expected to see Adames traded. And then after that, so who would they do next? Would it be Kiermaier? Maybe, maybe not. Would it be Wendle? Potentially. And why? Because who was coming up? We're looking at Wander. We're looking at Taylor Walls. We're looking at Brujan. Any of those guys would be great infielders. Joey, you look at him, he's played everything anyway. He's done second baseman, third baseman, shortstop. I think sometimes he's even played outfield. So you're looking at a true utility player. And I'm sad that the Rays did trade him to the Marlins. But again, I'm not sure I understand what that trade was about. But the thing of it was, we had a little crowded infield there as far as talent. I can certainly understand wanting to bring the new guys up.
It seems like it's just going to be a wait and see attitude because I'm pretty sure Wander's going to stay at short. And I just want to see who they put in at second and third more so before I fully judge this trade.
Well, what do you think is going to happen with Brandon Lau?
I could easily see him being sort of like the Ben Zobrist because we've seen him play outfield before.
Yeah.
And I figured maybe we could see him do that every now and then. He could bounce from, he could play second one night, then go out to right, maybe second, then to short again, and just do what Zobrist would do, where he's pretty much an all-around guy.
Wow, you go ahead and you put out the name Ben Zobrist out there. That is high praise.
Because we've seen Lau at his best, and that's a guy I don't think that the Rays should look to trade. I think he's one of those guys that they should keep around and be a part of a core, which is honestly something I don't think the Rays have ever had.
Yes, I'd have to agree with you that as far as having a solid core. And I think that Brandon would be part of that. But coming back to Joey, though, man, we're looking at a guy who's not surprisingly, again, this guy is, free agent status in 2024. So he's actually not even arbitration eligible till this year or last year. That being the case, Marlins going to have, they can do some things with him without paying a whole lot of money. Just going to be some arbitration. Hopefully, Mr. Wendle will be getting paid what he's worth, and I think he's worth a lot. I love watching Joey at bat too, man. He's got a determination in his eye. He's one of the few guys you'll see up there at bat without gloves. You see some tape wrapped around the bat really well down there at the bottom of it, but the man's up there with no gloves. He's a old-time traditional player. That's what I see when I look at him at bat.
Yeah, he was always one of those guys to me, whether it's in the field or at the plate, where he was always consistent, always reliable, and he would never put you in a hole or hurt you.
You're right, and I think he always had a kind of an even keel persona that he projected. you never know what's going on in somebody's mind. But when things were tough, you might see a grimace or, a look of disappointment. But there was never anything being thrown around, I believe, or anything else. He's a quality guy, and he's definitely going to be missed. And I hope that Kim Ang enjoys having him there in Miami, because we certainly enjoyed having Joey here. All righty. What else is going on? The X-Rays. The X-Rays. That's right, man. We're going to take a look at what's happening on with some of the former Rays and what's been happening with those who went to Boston, the ones who gave us so much trouble and did not allow us to advance this year. One of my favorite pitchers, period, is Nate Eovaldi. This past year, when he finished, I think, 4th in the American League Cy Young, and I'm not surprised that he was there. He's a good player. He's fantastic to watch. He's had some challenges physically, but he can mix up more. He's not just stuck with a fastball. He's got the curveball. He's got a slider. He's got what? I think there's 5 different ones the man has. He's just amazing to watch.
Yeah, I remember when he was here, it was only like a couple months that he actually pitched here, but I enjoyed watching him pitch, and he was just one of those guys I really wish we kept around, especially now.
Yeah.
With how our pitching staff always seems to be shorthanded, especially in the starters. And he came back to bite us in the postseason this year, so I wish we still kept him, because that's just one more arm in the stable, as Cash would say. And it'd be a pretty good one, too, especially with getting Cy Young votes. Because could you imagine a rotation with him, Glasnow, when he's healthy, McClanahan, and Boz coming up as your back half?
Jeez, that'd be huge. That'd be huge. Hey, and let's keep Morton while we're at it. Let's bring him back.
Maybe Snell, too. Keep him around.
Oh, wow. Wouldn't that just be an amazing pitching rotation? Wow.
It'd be like those old Rays days where, like, 1 through 5, there was pretty much, they could shut you down.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll on another upcoming RaysUp edition of Baseball Biz, we'll dig into what that starting rotation is going to look like. May not have much until this lockout's done and some other trades, but at the moment, we'll get into some of that. But again, Nate Eovaldi, man, what a guy! What an exciting time to watch him play. And of course, once the Rays were out of it, I wasn't necessarily pulling for the Red Sox, but I was always pulling for Nate Eovaldi. I wanted to see what he could do. And other news, Hunter Renfroe. Okay, we got to see him out there with the Red Sox too. A lot of amazing work. Brandon, when he was playing for us, the Rays, there was once or twice I saw the man do something as crazy as leap over an embankment over there in right field to catch a ball. There's a concrete embankment. Hey, that wall doesn't mean anything. I'll leap over it and I'll catch the ball. And he just disappeared for a moment, came back up. Yes, I still had the ball. He's tenacious. He's going to make sure that he's in the game. And then he was doing really good at bat, too. At least I thought so.
Yeah, when he was here, he didn't completely live up to the expectations we had, but I mean, that was a weird year that he was here. There's a COVID season. He probably never even got comfortable, really, so that probably played into it as well. And then we saw when he went back to Boston, or not back to it, up to Boston, he turned into Hunter Renfroe that we were expecting to have here, and every time he played the Rays, he seemed to kill him.
It seemed like there was almost a vengeance there. I don't know if it was or not, but it seemed like when he came there, he was going to make sure you shouldn't have let me go. But he's been exciting. And, recently in an episode we had with somebody from Boston, I think it was Nat Gordon, Boston Sports Talk, TOK. He does a lot of his stuff on TikTok. We talked about, all the players have talked about Renfroe. Nat said, well, as soon as we say this, there's going to be changes. And he was right. But I was still surprised to see that the Red Sox traded Renfroe to the Brewers.
Do you remember if there was chatter about him being a trade possibility? Because I don't remember hearing anything about it.
No, it came out of the blue, brother. That was not expected at all. See, they're getting Jackie Bradley Jr., right? I mean, that's something. And they're getting a couple other infielders. David Hamilton and I think Alex Benelis. Hope I said his name right.
It sounds right.
It sounded. We're going with it. Nonetheless, Hunter Renfroe, the outstanding performance. I mean, a lot of times, say sell your stock when it's high. And Hunter Renfroe was certainly, up there at the top. Wish him well as with the Brewers. So he'll be out there with Ozzie and Willy Adames as well. And hopefully it'll be great for them. We'll see. There's Christian Arroyo. I'm not going to get into everything, but he was great to have with us as well. He was a fresh face as he came up, and I'm think he'll probably continue to do well. You can see the kind of excitement when he's out there. He started out, what was the first round pick? All the way back in 2013. I still think he looks too young to be that far back, but he was a first round pick with the Giants. That was huge.
Yeah, I believe he came over in the Longoria trade.
That would make sense. I hadn't thought about that. He was one of those players. I said I was wondering about how young he was, but I think he actually skipped college and came straight on into it. So those are the X-Rays from Boston, or were from Boston. And we'll get into some other ones on a future show like Charlie Morton, Darno, and Heredia with the Braves. But since it is a holiday season, I did want to salute a lot of people who are taking that season to heart, looking at the acts of kindness and charities during a lockout. It's real easy to just kind of sit back and say, well, the world has come to a standstill and nothing's going to happen. Now, I don't know all the particulars, but I know the Rays have not sat on their laurels and said, well, let's wait till the lockout's done. They did have a week with the Rays community. Between the Rays and the Rowdies, they committed more than $25,000 toward, I think, children's toys in the community. They put in over 50 volunteer hours. This is from their Twitter account. We will say kudos to them for that. So I was really glad to hear that the giving did not stop. It was their merry week of giving at the Rays, if you will. But as these guys can't be representatives of the team right now, or their images even being used, it was interesting to see G-Man Choi. He was on Twitter the other day, and not surprisingly, he's in Korea right now. I think he's been playing some Korean ball. And he was donating, and I'm still not sure what this is, but he had donated over 2,500 briquettes that was to help people in need and help keep them warm in the winter. And I don't mean, it's not like a single charcoal briquette. It's more than that. And he says he knows it's, not enough, but he hopes it'll help out folks and keep them a little warmer during the cold winter season over there.
From my understanding of what a briquette is, it's something that you put in like your fireplace to help start a fire. That's just what, just like a quick Google search of it is.
Yeah.
But it's just like some form of a heater. I don't know if it's like an actual heater or furnace, but I think it's something that you put in your fireplace to help get the fire going.
Yeah. I used to buy some of those little, I don't know what kind of log, I want to say Duraflame. I don't know if it's the brand name or whatever, but it was a little starter type log wrapped in, encased in paper, and you lit it. And I think it was kind of probably something similar to that. So anyway, G-Man's thanking the people around him and want to salute him for that. Let's see what else is going on during this time. Neil Solondz. I'm going to talk about the gentleman who's done a lot for the pregame and postgame on radio for the Rays. For some time now, Brandon, he's done a lot as far as advancing awareness and looking at getting some things to help people with pancreatic cancer. The research on that. I know he's got, let's see, I'm looking here at something he actually sent out today. It says, happy holidays. I hope you're enjoying the season with friends and family, and that most important, you're enjoying health throughout the holidays. So I did want to reach out and let you know that I'm raising money with Sari and our children in 2022 for pancreatic cancer research. The event in Tampa Bay this year is part of a national event on April 30th. And so we continue to recognize my late father-in-law, Alan Berger, in hopes that we can honor his memory and find a cure. I would say just go ahead and find Neil Solondz online. And if you wish to commit to this, and try to do something to help them. I mean, to help folks who are suffering from this and the research on pancreatic cancer. I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and if you can't donate, at least spread the word to others. Because I mean, cancer, it really it affects everybody. It's affected my family. I'm sure it's affected your family in some way. Because it pretty much goes after everybody. And if you can't donate, at least spread the word and try and help people out as best you can.
Yeah, and we'll do that as well on our Twitter feeds. A few times between now and Christmas, and then again also I think between now and April when that event comes up. So, Neil, I want to thank you again, man, for all that you're doing with this. Working with Purple Stride and working with as far as helping out the resources for the research on pancreatic cancer. There's one other guy I think that's everybody knows who did a lot of giving as well, and that's Mr. Nelson Cruz. Here's a guy from the Dominican Republic, a true veteran baseball player who this year won the Roberto Clemente Award. And he won it actually as being part of the Minnesota Twins organization. It's because he was nominated early and he was there at the time. And if you look at this guy, man, Brandon, he's done a lot over the years. It didn't just happen all of a sudden. Early on, he was doing some things out for the Dominican Republic, bringing in people like doctors and dentists and going into areas where they just really didn't have the kind of medical help that they needed, and he went on further. He was working with making sure that they had firefighting efforts there. He bought fire engines for some of these communities, and he just didn't plant them there. He made sure there were people who were well trained on how to use them and make sure they'd make a difference. So it's just been amazing. When he got this award, Brandon Manfred, one of my favorite people. Yeah, I'm going to read this. I think it's probably kind of part. It was a report on the press release of what happened. I'm going to read this from what Manfred said. Every community where Nelson has played, he's done good works in that community. But I think the most important of his good works have taken place in his native Dominican Republic. He's been involved in providing equipment for ambulance corps and firefighting. He supported educational efforts, and he really stepped up during the COVID pandemic. I think it was 1,200 families that he made sure they had adequate economic support and were fed every day. When you read what he did over the last 18 months, it's truly unbelievable. Well, Mr. Manfred, thank you for saying those good words about Nelson Cruz. Especially thank you, Nelson, for your spirit of giving, above and beyond what many of us can do. But I wish there was more of it. So congratulations to you and thank you for all that you've done.
I don't think I could say it better myself.
When I'm reading something from Manfred and giving kudos, it's important.
Yeah.
Well, and we're talking about the holidays. We're talking about the spirit of giving this season. And I would be remiss if I didn't take, at least a serious tone in noting about the tornado that ripped across, part of this country. And I know you hear Mayfield, Kentucky, but there were other communities outside of Kentucky that were hit by that 250-mile tornado. It went 250 miles, Brandon, I think, without stopping. It didn't leap into the air, just destruction. And you see there's a lot of people coming out and providing water and clothes, FEMA, other organizations. Well, and it was interesting at the beginning. I saw one gentleman even came out with a barbecue cooker and a lot of food to help those who were there and emergency workers as well. So, those are sort of things that warm your heart about a spirit of giving this time of year. And there's just so much we can do.
Yeah, I saw the videos of that tornado going through there, and I mean, that looks scary. It was pitch black outside. You couldn't see it. Just hear the bit. You'd see like a flash or...
it's like it made a gash across the earth. And the way it impacted people, we're not going to get into all that. I'm sure you all have seen enough of this on the news, but you can't turn your head away from the reality of it. So if you find an opportunity to help somebody, it doesn't have to be somebody impacted by that. If you wish to help people who've been impacted by that, it's fine. But I think we all have opportunities locally. We could do some things like helping out for the Purple Stride campaign against pancreatic cancer. We could do some things as far as helping out folks at homeless shelters, families who are suffering through domestic violence. These are just some of the challenges, that we all have to face. And I should say, these are some of the opportunities where we can really help people make a difference. And some simple things too, like the Boys and Girls Clubs, giving of your time, giving of your revenue, your spirit. Those are what's going to make a difference.
Yeah, and in any form of giving that you can do, whether it's even just like a Christmas card, like you would do in school to send to the military or to an old people's home. It's anything like that, and any way, at least it shows that there's still some good out there.
Thank you, Brandon. I think that's a good one to close on. So, well, this has been a special Raise Up holiday edition, and we may have another one yet before Christmas or New Year's. But Brandon, I want to thank you all again for joining us here on Baseball Biz. Wishing you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and whatever else I've forgotten, please forgive me. But any final words there, Brandon? Anything you wish to share?
Yeah, everybody have a happy holiday season. And even though we'll probably talk before Christmas time, if this is the last episode you listen to before Christmas, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. And you as well, Mark, even though I'll talk to you probably tomorrow.
There you go. So thank you, folks. Remember, like us, love us. You can do it on all the social media. Also, you can find us not just here, but on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. Oh, my, we're everywhere. Anyway, thanks again for joining us today, and we look forward to talking to you guys again real soon. Special thanks to Scott Holmes for the music, Stomps and Claps.